Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Today I will be going over what monk mode is, and I wanted to share my journey, right? If you've never heard of monk mode is essentially a term that was given because, similar to monks, you take like a vow to do certain things within a time period, right? So essentially monk mode is if you have a period of time where you basically refrain from all sexual activity, alcohol use, surfing the internet with no purpose, binging TV shows, movies, eating processed foods is a good example. I stopped eating processed foods, very beneficial. And so these are just a few examples that could be used, as well as fasting, right? And if you don't know what fasting is essentially you are dieting yourself on a particular set of skills, right? You are dieting yourself, so you are withdrawing from foods that you really enjoy to eat foods that, quite frankly, taste like garbage at first. But then you get acclimated to them, you get used to them, and then you realize, hey, they actually have really good properties. So it's like this crazy shift that happens, right, as you start eating these good foods with nutrients, nutrient-dense foods, foods that are alive and not dead, right? And so primarily, you withdraw from all external sources in this world. And it's in order to harness an inner peace and to cultivate a deep healing within yourself, within your body, soul, spirit, like we always talk about. And I just want to share as well that you don't just do monk mode, right? You don't just do monk mode because you feel like it. You have an actionable goal that you want to go after. You have a purpose, you have a mission specifically for why you want to use it. That's very important, because if you don't have a reasoning of why you're actually doing monk mode, you won't cultivate. You won't harness the full benefits that it has to offer. And so allow me to share my primary reasoning for monk mode was this. A little over a year ago, I decided to take a year off. I prayed about it, thought about it, was just doing some contemplating, right, in my mind. And I came to the agreement that I would abstain from alcohol, any sort of sexual consumption. And I haven't really shared my thoughts on, casual sex or things of that nature for a specific reason, right? I want to hold off till later content to share my beliefs because they're a little different. And a lot of it stems back to if people understood that when you have sex, you are actually making a spiritual transference, I think that they would be really cautious about who they tend to sleep with. It isn't very beneficial to just sleep with anyone, right? But without getting all into that. So I decided to take this year off after I ended a 2-year relationship. Beautiful human being, great gal. We just wanted different things in our lives. We're going separate ways. We both have different paths. And I'm very thankful for the time that we had together. I'm very thankful for her being a part of my life because, to be honest with you, this channel would not be up without her. So y'all can actually thank her one day. I'm sure she'll do great things. And she was the first person that told me. I mean, there was a few people that told me, "Ari, you got to get your content up. You gotta get to work. You have such a powerful message to share, and you got to quit holding it off." And unfortunately, it took having a really good girlfriend to tell me, "Hey, get this quality content up. Get this up. You need to get this up," repeatedly. And just like everything, repetition is the mother of all skills. So here we are. But I want to give a huge shout out to her. But I wanted to take that time, right? I wanted to take that time apart. And one of the hardest parts about being monk mode for me, right, is that there was a lot of times that during that period, if women somehow know you're single without telling, and you don't even have to tell them you're single, I swear to God, there's like a like a sixth sense, right? It's like a Spider-Woman type deal that some of y'all got. And I promised myself, one of the things that I also swore off was any sort of female contact, right? And I'm going to tell you my reasoning. Not because women are bad or they're terrible human beings, but solely for the reason that if you're on your purpose and on your mission, one of the things that women do, whether it's subconsciously or consciously, is they will pull you off your path to test you. And what I mean by that, I don't mean that women are inherently evil. I mean that this is preferably, according to what I understand and know, is a biological imperative. And you're just thinking to yourself, I'm trying to specifically swear off women. And it's not because women are inherently bad, it's one of the things that I swore off. Because if I decide to put my validation into another woman, let's say that I'm taking this time to heal myself, and the woman's purpose is to get that encouragement, to get that support, to want that love, to want that validation, I'm not in a place that I can give that, right? If I do give it, it's going to be selfish. I'm going to be satisfying my own needs rather than taking care of my own trash, right? Taking care of my own issues, taking care of the chinks in my armor. But I needed to do that self-work. And if I introduced somebody else into my life, I wouldn't have been able to do that self-work. I swear, as soon as I ended things, I mean, you run into people at the coffee shop, you run into people at the store, they all just start coming out of the woodwork, okay? So as a man, when that happens, you need to refuse. And one of the hardest things we have to do as men is to harness that self-will, right? But I'm telling you, if you learn to harness and discipline yourself, especially when it comes to women, it will pour into every other aspect of your life. Okay, a woman wants a man who can lead, and they may not tell you this, but a woman wants a man who cannot be a slave to his own desires, right? He can learn to control and harness his emotions, regulate. And so that brings me to number one. Discipline. One thing that I took away from this is discipline. And what I mean by that is you're regulating your emotions and thought patterns like I discussed. But you're also redefining your circumstances. You're shifting your perspective. And part of the physical discipline is not engaging in any lustful content, right? So, abstaining from all sexual content. Because that is every man's Achilles heel. If you're big into history, you will learn almost every history book, bro. Every ruler that fell, there was almost always a woman involved, right? Because they put the woman before their mission. They put the woman before their purpose. Some of that even caused literal wars, particularly in England and Scotland. You need to learn that through monk mode, if you're disciplined, you learn that control. So then you ask me, Ari, how do I know if I'm controlled, right? How do I know if I'm under the bondage of such a thing? And it's basically, if you have any sort of impulse and you have to act on it, and you can't say no, there's a good chance that that's what's controlling you, right? And we're called to be men that aren't controlled by those things. You know, the whole purpose of the refined lad isn't because it's this very unique name, right? The whole purpose for me is refined means to be purged, to be like reborn. I think of steel being hit by a blacksmith, a sword being forged in fire, okay? That's the whole purpose of the refined lad. That's what I'm trying to do here. I'm doing these things to make everybody self-aware of the very real and ongoing threat that some people are really trying to pit men and women against each other, and there's some stuff that needs to be solidified, right? Now along these lines, I'll talk very briefly about this, is consuming PORN. PORN is an absolute bondage to men and women, and I'm going to tell you why. It's significantly training men. It's very specifically training men to get used to the idea of another man sleeping with a woman that is your virtual girl on the screen. So you're practically conditioning yourself to watching another man do another woman in front of you, and frankly, that's not very masculine, okay? Not at all. So the second thing that monk mode has taught me, right, is gratitude. Never did I ever think that I had an issue with gratitude, but it put into perspective the things that I needed to know. And it made me appreciate the things that I wasn't so aware of. And so how it works is when you deliberately withdraw from the pleasures and distractions of this world, you can focus more on building and strengthening the connections with your family and friends. In the past, I would have been on my phone, going through social media, having no care in the world, and I would put that before family. Maybe parents would ask me a question, and I go, yeah, yeah, ah. Now the issue with that is if you took 1 hour and you were analyzing every aspect of your life, you could have these things. I would choose 1 hour to have that quality time with family over the concept and the idea that social media provides in this life. Because we don't really know what we have until it's gone, and it's a tragic thing, but it's something that we have to come to grips with. We don't realize how much we take for granted when we're younger. Y'all, my battery died when I was out hiking at the park. So I'm coming back to you guys now. We're home. I just want to get this last bit in, especially while my battery, the other battery's charging. And number 3, like I said, there's so many other possible important characteristics, information, knowledge that I gained from going monk mode. And I might just continue because it's had a lot of benefits. Number 3 is that it has taught me more than anything in this world to be comfortable with just being by myself. Now, I've mentioned before with you guys, with certain men, depending on how they were raised, and even with the social construct, a lot of men cannot afford to be alone. It's one of the biggest contributing factors to why men always have to be out partying. They have to be out doing something. There's all these men, and to me, again, it stems back to a lack of direction. It stems back to a lack of purpose, right? They don't understand why they're here. Otherwise, they would be working on every single freaking aspect of their life to get to where they want to go. And so part of this also is self-love. Self-love does not just pertain to masculine and feminine, doesn't pertain to men and women, okay? That's absolute garbage. Self-love is for everybody, right? Self-love is for everybody. Now, what does this look like? I take myself to places. I go on hikes. That's self-love to me, right? I love hiking. I might go do an activity. Just a couple weeks ago, I rode dirt bikes over at my buddy's uncle's house on his property. We went trail riding. That's another example. Doing things that you love. Doing things that you care for, right? Doing things that make your soul leap from your body. What drives you? What motivates you? What gets you going? And I have been able to see so much beauty just traveling in the last year. Just this last year, I've been out west again. I love being out west. I got to see some parts of Colorado. Absolutely beautiful. Snow-covered mountains. Reminded me of back home. It was nice to be away from Michigan, but sometimes you miss that. Me particularly, I like warmer weather. That's just me. I think we all need a little bit more of vitamin D in our lives, particularly those who live up north. But that's neither here nor there. By traveling, I got to see things that I wouldn't have seen before. I got to enjoy these destinations, look forward to things, learn history, take pieces with me, going rock hunting, all of these different things that minister to my soul. So there's a Greek proverb by Socrates, and he talks about know thyself. Well, knowing thyself is knowing yourself, knowing every aspect of you, knowing what drives you, knowing what motivates you, knowing what gets you going, knowing what you love. So you learn to enjoy your solitude. You learn to enjoy your company. You learn that it's okay if people let you down because you do have yourself. You have things you can work on. I have this video, I have this vlogging that I can work on. I have my channel that I can work on. I have social media that I can learn about how to make this business bigger. I help out with the holistic side of things. I help out with the holistic lifestyle. I got my massage schooling. I have all these things. There's no excuse for me to ever be bored. So whenever time I hear somebody say they're bored, you're not bored, you just don't know what you're doing. But the most amazing possible thing that I could take away from being on this journey, this wilderness search, this wilderness season from God, is I have learned a mindset of abundance. And that doesn't just pertain to financial. It pertains to every fabric of my life. This includes relationships, friendships, careers, jobs, literally anything you could think of. There is an abundance out there, and we have to change our perspective, and we have to shift our mindset to one of growth rather than a fixed outcome. And being outcome dependent, we need to learn to become outcome independent. So as always, I appreciate you stopping by. If you don't know already, I'm going to a leadership intensive camp in Florida in mid-July. I'll put the link below in the description for you to donate to the funds. There's two options. One is to enter a raffle that has prizes like an iPad, Beats, and such. The second is to just generally donate. This will allow me to fundraise what I need for my account in order to get to Florida and to mentor young adult men into things that I wish I knew when I was younger. And every aspect of what Dr. Andrea and Dr. Jeff are doing, I resonate with 100%. There needs to be more of it, and there needs to be it not just in Florida, but in Michigan, Indiana, California. I want to see them all over. So if you guys feel like donating or you feel motivated to donate, I appreciate you. If you can't donate, just really take in the words that I have to share with you, because I love nothing more than to spend quality time with you guys and to share my message and to share things that I wish I knew when I was younger. And so as always, take care, be safe, gain lots of knowledge, and stay frosty.